Section 1. What does it mean to break F1? Before we get into the stories, let's define what it means to break F1. We're not just talking about winning races or championships, we're talking about teams that change the game by dominating so thoroughly, innovating so radically, or bending the rules so far that the sport had to respond. Sometimes it's about a technical breakthrough. Sometimes it's about a political power play, and sometimes it's about a scandal that rocked the paddock to its core. These are the teams that forced F1 to evolve for better or worse. Section 2, Alfa Romeo, the first dominators, 1950 to 1951. Let's start at the very beginning. In 1950, Formula One was born, and Alfa Romeo was the first team to break the sport. Their 158th Alfetta was a pre-war design, but it was so far ahead of the competition that they won every race they entered in the inaugural season. Giuseppe Farina and Juan Manuel Fangio were untouchable. Alfa's dominance was so complete that it exposed the gap between factory teams and privateers. The FIA quickly realised that for F1 to survive, it needed more competitive teams and better rules. Alfa's early success set the template for what it meant to break F1, total domination, followed by a rule change. Section 3, Mercedes-Benz, the Silver Arrows, 1954 to 1955. After Alfa, Mercedes-Benz returned to Grand Prix racing in 1954 with the W196. With Fangio at the wheel, they introduced fuel injection, streamlined bodywork, and a level of professionalism the sport had never seen. Mercedes won 9 of 12 races in 1954 to 55, and their technical superiority forced everyone else to catch up. But tragedy struck at Le Mans in 1955, leading Mercedes to withdraw from motorsport for decades. Their brief but overwhelming dominance showed how a manufacturer could raise the bar and how quickly the sport could change in response. Section 4, Lotus, the kings of innovation, 1960s to 1970s. No team broke F1 more often than Lotus. Under Colin Chapman, Lotus introduced the monocoque chassis, 1962, ground effect aerodynamics, late 1970s, and countless other innovations. The Lotus 25, 49, 72, and 79 were all game changers. Monocoque chassis, 1962. The Lotus 25's aluminum monocoque made the car lighter, stiffer, and safer. Within a few years, every team copied the design. Ground effect, 1977 to 1979. The Lotus 78 and 79 used shaped underbodies to create massive downforce. The cars stuck to the track like glue, and Mario Andretti dominated in 1978. The FIA eventually banned sliding skirts and limited ground effect, but the genie was out of the bottle. Chapman's philosophy, simplify, then add lightness, broke F1 again and again. Every time Lotus innovated, the rules had to change. Section 5, Brabham, the fan car, 1978. In 1978, Brabham, led by Gordon Murray, introduced the BT46B fan car. The car used a giant fan at the rear to suck air from under the car, creating enormous downforce regardless of speed. Niki Lauda won the car's only race in Sweden, and the other teams immediately protested. The FIA banned the fan car after just one race, but the message was clear. If you could find a loophole, you could break F1, at least until the rules caught up. Section 6, Ferrari. The political powerhouse, 1970s to 2000s, Ferrari has always been more than just a team. They're a political force. In the 1970s and 1980s, Ferrari's influence over the FIA and F1's rulemakers was legendary. They could veto rule changes, negotiate special deals, and shape the sport to their advantage. Turbo era, 1980s. Ferrari's turbo engines were monsters, and their political clout helped shape the regulations. Concorde Agreement, Ferrari's special status in the Concorde Agreement gave them extra money and influence, a legacy that continues to this day. Ferrari didn't just break F1 on the track, they broke it in the boardroom. Section 7, Williams, active suspension, 1992 to 1993. Williams, under Patrick Head and Adrian Newey, introduced active suspension in the early 1990s. The system used computers and hydraulics to keep the car perfectly level, maximizing grip and speed. Nigel Mansell dominated in 1992 and Alain Prost followed in 1993. The FIA banned active suspension for 1994, fearing that the technology was making the cars too fast and too expensive. Williams' innovation forced the sport to rethink what was possible and what was safe. Section 8, Benetton, the traction control controversy, 1994. Benetton, with Michael Schumacher, was at the centre of one of F1's biggest controversies in 1994. Rivals accused Benetton of using illegal electronic aids like traction control and launch control, despite the rules banning them. The FIA found suspicious software in the car's ECU but couldn't prove it was used in races. The controversy led to stricter software checks and new rules about electronic systems. Benetton's success and the suspicion around it forced F1 to get serious about policing technology. Section 9. McLaren, the F1 supercar, and the MP4/4, 1988. McLaren broke F1 in two ways, on the track and on the road. MP4/4, 1988. With Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, McLaren won 15 of 16 races in 1988. The car's low-line chassis, Honda turbo power, and perfect aerodynamics made it almost unbeatable. The FIA responded by banning turbos for 1989. McLaren F1 supercar, off the track. The McLaren F1 road car set new standards for performance and technology, influencing both F1 and the automotive world. McLaren's relentless pursuit of perfection forced the sport to keep up. Section 10, Braun GP, the double diffuser, 2009. In 2009, Braun GP, born from the ashes of Honda, found a loophole in the new aerodynamic rules. Their double diffuser created extra downforce, giving Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello a huge advantage. Braun won 6 of the first 7 races, and Button took the title. The FIA allowed the double diffuser for the rest of the season, but banned it for 2010. Braun's clever interpretation of the rules broke F1 for a year and delivered one of the sport's greatest underdog stories. Section 11, Red Bull Racing, the blown diffuser and aero mastery, 2010 to 2013. Red Bull, under Adrian Newey, dominated the early 2000s and 10s with a series of aerodynamic innovations. Blown diffuser. By channeling exhaust gases over the diffuser, Red Bull created extra downforce, especially in corners. Sebastian Vettel won 4 straight titles, and the FIA scrambled to rewrite the rules. Flexible wings. Red Bull's front wings were designed to flex at high speed, reducing drag and increasing grip. The FIA introduced stricter tests, but Red Bull always seemed one step ahead. Red Bull's aero mastery forced the sport to constantly adapt. Section 12, Mercedes, the hybrid era, 2014 to 2020. When F1 switched to hybrid power units in 2014, Mercedes was ready. Their PU106A engine was a masterpiece. More powerful, more efficient, and more reliable than anything else. Mercedes won 7 straight constructors' titles, and Lewis Hamilton took 6 drivers' championships. Split turbo. Mercedes' unique split turbo design gave them better packaging and cooling, a key advantage. DAS, dual axis steering. In 2020, Mercedes introduced DAS, allowing drivers to adjust toe angle on the fly for better tyre management. The FIA banned it for 2021. Mercedes' dominance forced the FIA to tweak the rules repeatedly, trying to close the gap. Section 13, Tyrrell, the six-wheeler, 1976. Tyrrell's P34 six-wheeler was one of the most radical cars in F1 history. With 4 small front wheels, it reduced drag and increased grip. The car won a race in 1976, but the concept was eventually banned as other teams couldn't get suitable tyres. Tyrrell's innovation showed that breaking F1 didn't always mean winning titles. It could mean changing the way people thought about what was possible. Section 14. Brabham, refueling and pit stop revolution, 1982 to 1983. Brabham, under Bernie Ecclestone and Gordon Murray, reintroduced mid-race refueling and pit stops in the early 1980s. The strategy allowed lighter, faster cars and forced rivals to rethink their approach. The FIA eventually banned refueling for safety reasons, but Brabham's innovation changed the way races were run and made pit stops a key part of F1 strategy. Section 15, Renault, mass damper, 2005 to 2006. Renault's mass damper system used a weighted device in the nose to stabilize the car over bumps, improving grip and tyre wear. The FIA initially approved it, then banned it mid-season in 2006, sparking controversy. Renault's clever engineering forced the sport to clarify the rules on movable aerodynamic devices. Section 16. Bar Honda, the second fuel tank scandal, 2005. Bar Honda was caught running a hidden second fuel tank in 2005, allowing them to start races underweight and refuel later. The FIA banned the system and suspended the team for 2 races. The scandal led to stricter fuel and weight checks and showed that breaking F1 could mean breaking the rules. Section 17, Racing Point, the pink Mercedes, 2020. Racing Point's 2020 car looked almost identical to the previous year's championship-winning Mercedes. Rivals accused them of copying designs illegally, and the FIA docked them points for using Mercedes brake ducts. The controversy led to new rules about listed parts and intellectual property, and showed that in the modern era, breaking F1 could mean pushing the boundaries of what's legal to copy. Section 18, Haas, the Ferrari clone debate, 2016 to 2020. Haas entered F1 in 2016 with a unique model: buy as many parts as possible from Ferrari and Dallara and focus on running the team. The approach sparked debate about what it meant to be a constructor and whether customer cars should be allowed. The FIA tightened the rules on listed parts, but Haas's model forced the sport to rethink how new teams could compete. Section 19, Spygate, McLaren versus Ferrari, 2007. In 2007, McLaren was caught with a 780-page dossier of Ferrari technical secrets. The scandal rocked the sport, leading to a $100 million fine and McLaren's exclusion from the Constructors' Championship. Spygate forced F1 to overhaul its rules on intellectual property, data security, and team conduct. Section 20, Crashgate, Renault's Singapore scandal, 2008. At the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, Renault's Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed on purpose, bringing out a safety car that helped teammate Fernando Alonso win the race. The plan was orchestrated by team bosses Flavio Briatore and Pat Simons. The scandal led to bans, suspensions, and a loss of trust in the sport. The FIA introduced stricter rules on team orders and race manipulation. Section 21, Ferrari's secret engine deal, 2019. In 2019, Ferrari's straight-line speed was suspiciously high. Rivals accused them of finding a way around fuel flow restrictions. The FIA investigated and after the season announced a private settlement with Ferrari. No details were released. The lack of transparency led to new rules on fuel flow sensors and data sharing and fueled conspiracy theories about favoritism and cover-ups. Section 22, the teams that forced F1 to change. What do all these teams have in common? They found a way to break F1 by dominating, innovating, or pushing the rules to the limit. Sometimes they changed the sport for the better, sometimes they forced the FIA to act, and sometimes they crossed the line and paid the price. But every time they made F1 more interesting, more competitive, and more unpredictable. Section 23, the legacy of the rule breakers. The teams that broke F1 left a lasting legacy. Their innovations became standard, their scandals became cautionary tales, and their stories became part of the sport's mythology. Lotus's ground effect changed car design forever. Williams's active suspension set the stage for modern electronics. Mercedes's hybrid dominance forced the sport to rethink its priorities. Red Bull's aero mastery made every team invest in wind tunnels and CFD. Braun's double diffuser showed that even a small team could outsmart the giants. Every time a team broke F1, the sport got stronger. Section 24, the future. Who will break F1 next? The 2026 regulations are coming, and with them, a new opportunity for teams to break the sport again. Will it be Audi with their hybrid expertise? Will Red Bull or Mercedes find a new loophole? Or will a new team like Andretti Cadillac change the game? History shows that every time the rules change, someone finds a way to break F1, and when they do, the sport will never be the same. Section 25, why we love the rule breakers. F1 is a sport of innovation, risk, and rebellion. The teams that break the rules, literally or figuratively, are the ones that push the sport forward. They force everyone else to raise their game and they make every season unpredictable. If you love the stories of the teams that broke F1, hit subscribe. We'll keep bringing you the legends, the scandals, and the breakthroughs that make this sport the greatest show on earth. Section 26, conclusion. From Alfa Romeo's first domination to Mercedes' hybrid era, from Lotus's ground effect to Braun's double diffuser, the teams that broke F1 are the ones that made it what it is today. They changed the rules, forced the sport to evolve, and left a legacy that will never be forgotten. Thanks for watching Every Team That Broke F1 Explained. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and drop your favorite F1 rule breaker in the comments. Who do you think changed the sport the most? Who will be the next team to break F1? Let's keep the debate going, because in F1, the only constant is change. See you next time for more racing secrets, scandals, and stories. If you want even more depth on any section, team, or era, let me know and I'll expand further.